gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Fatties Over 40. Get that wrong every time now.
I still don't know what the name of this podcast is. This is episode 3. We don't even know who we are.
We don't. We're still trying to find our identity.
I know I got a drink in my hand. I know that.
You got a drink in your hand? I got a drink in my hand too. What are we drinking on today, brother?
Oh man, today we are drinking on, this is yours. I'm going to give you the credit for this, or if you want it or not.
Okay, well, preface this before. I won this in a silent auction in a golf basket that had, I didn't know this was in it. I thought it was coffee. Totally not coffee, but please, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is JURA, and I'm sure I am mispronouncing that really bad. It is a Scotch from
single malt.
JURA, J-U-R-A, Island of Scotland. I will tell you this, we just cracked this bad boy open and tried it for the first time. It is the most smoky Scotch I have ever had. That smoke coats your mouth and will not let go of it.
All I can think of is, woo, when I drink it. Little Ric Flair, baby.
That's fitting.
That is fitting.
The fitting sensation of woo, because this podcast today is all about wrestling.
Wrestling, baby. Wrestling it is.
Wrestling, whiskey. What else do we need?
We don't need anything else.
We're good.
We don't need anything else.
We are good to go. So jumping off point with our smoky Scotch. Yeah. All right. We're gonna go through a lot of these alcohols on this podcast, and I'm gonna give a disclaimer to everybody right now. Unless you love smoke, you might want to skip this Scotch.
All right. Since we did this, we've kind of did this. What would you say? 1 to 5. Let's go 1 to 5. What's your rating? 1 to 5. One being absolutely 0 to 5. We'll go 0 to 5.
Okay.
0 being I would never drink this in a million years of my life. 5 being I want to drink this every day for the rest of my life.
It's definitely not a 5.
No.
It's definitely not a 4. We're not even at a 3, my friend. This is not a 3. Now, I can see uses for this. I'm probably going to give this 1.5 out of 5 because I do like a good cocktail. And if you want a smoked cocktail, this would be great to put in it.
I would agree.
But if you're a guy that likes to drink your Scotch straight, which I typically do,
not this.
Put it on the rocks, this is not the one for you.
No.
Not for me anyway.
I was thinking a 2, mainly because it doesn't have a harsh bite to it. It actually does not have a harsh bite, but the smoky flavor of it overpowers everything.
It does.
And it stays. It like stays on your tongue and in your nose, and I'm not a fan of that.
Do you have to let it linger? Apparently you do.
You do have to let it linger.
This shit sticks around worse than herpes. God damn! It's supposed to go away.
You never get rid of herpes.
Never get rid of herpes.
Shout out to Valtrex.
All right. So
I mean, I don't know about all that. All right. So, moving on to
the fun stuff.
Fun stuff, absolutely. So, wrestling. I've been watching wrestling since as long as I could remember. And it started with my grandma. My grandma used to be one of those old ladies that would sit on the side of the ring, and when the bad guys came in, she'd hit them with the purse. If they got close, she would hit them with the purse.
So your grandma was all up on the aisle?
Oh, hell yes.
Swinging the handbag?
Absolutely. I remember 5 or 6, maybe a little bit older, every Saturday morning. We'd be watching, I believe at the time it was WCW or it was WCCW. I can't remember which one it was. But that's what Grandma watched. And she got me hooked. She got me hooked. And there were times where I would spend my money and go buy wrestling magazines just for wrestling magazines, just because I wanted to. And that's where I grew my love of the sports entertainment known as wrestling. Because it's not wrestling. It's not wrestling. It's wrestling.
No, sir. It is wrestling. I'm with you. I have been a fan of wrestling for a while, not as long as you. I didn't get hooked when I was a child. I watched Saturday mornings for a bit. I will tell you, back then my parents were having none of that. So once they woke up, it was time to change the channel. We don't care if you want to watch wrestling. This stuff is over.
Bro, walk over there and turn the TV. Because we didn't have remotes back then.
Exactly.
We didn't have remotes back then.
See what they did? They were smart. They got me when they came into the room. They went over, turned it, and then they weren't getting off the couch.
Nope.
See,
Absolutely
but
not.
I was also a little scared. I wasn't just going to change the channel and sit there like I was
bro.
the shit. No, I was going to get my ass whooped. I do some shit like that.
Jijo would have put you through a coffee. Let's be honest. Jijo would have put you through a coffee.
He may have. He may have sabooed my ass through a coffee table. Whoa, buddy. So yeah, no, actually, longtime fan. I watched it back then, but really didn't take off for me until I was in roughly middle school, early high school age, really kind of getting into that 13, 14-year-old, and I was really all about it at that point.
See, that's where I came back to wrestling, was when I met you fools.
Yeah.
That's when I came back, because like for a long time, I didn't have cable TV. So growing up, I had to go down the street to a buddy of mine's house, and we would watch Raw. That was he was a WWF kid, loved it. I didn't really care. He had cable. So I went to go watch the USA Network, and I think it was TNT at the time when WCW, when Nitro was on there. So I was just happy to watch that shit again, because it was wrestling again.
Yes, sir.
But then, when I met you, and the rest of the BOLC, I got hooked again. And I got hooked hard.
It was hard not to. That was, for me, I got to call that the golden era of wrestling.
Absolutely.
What we'll say is the late 90s,
It was the
early
Attitude Era.
2000s. It's been dubbed not us, we
No.
didn't dub it the Attitude
No.
era, but that's just what it is. When we had the Raw versus Nitro wars on Monday night, that was fantastic.
Which what's crazy is as much as we all loved wrestling, it sprinkled over into our normal everyday lives. From having the NWO parties in the hallway in high school, like complete jackasses, and Miss Harris coming out, Precious Jules, I need you guys to get out of the hallway. You only got 3 squares. That's what we did, once a week?
Oh, probably Friday.
I think it was like every Friday.
The Friday thing. We would have the NWO picnic outside of our lockers. And you're like, that's not a picnic, you're inside. Don't worry about it. We did what we wanted to do. We had a good time. We brought in food.
We did.
We were too young to drink, so we weren't drinking at that
Nope, we were
point.
not
We're just
drinking
eating a
at that
little
point.
food, little shenanigans in the morning to start your day. It was a good time.
I loved it. That was actually how I became friends with you guys.
That's how a lot of people became friends. Yeah,
Part of
there's
it.
a lot of the, hey, what are those jackasses
Yes.
doing? And then you kind of have a group just gather around, and then next thing you know, you're shoving whole Twinkies down your face, and
You're giving boxes of Twinkies to girls walking down the hall. And yeah.
Yeah.
So one wrestling story just real quick going back to high school, because you didn't have Mr. May for algebra, did you?
I did not.
So it was me and a couple other people. That class was where I effectively learned how to execute a proper diamond cutter.
Yes, you could tell we were really dedicated to our education
No,
if we're
not
sitting
at
there
all.
doing that.
I believe it was Ralph on Duran. I could be wrong. But it was either a stunner or a diamond cutter in the back of Mr. May's class, and that was all she wrote. From there on, it was, whose house are we going to watch the pay-per-view? And it was either you or Josh.
Yeah. Pay-per-view started for me before that, actually. I
I
didn't
know.
even tell you that. My next-door neighbor, when I was growing up,
Oh.
his dad was very into wrestling. And so they would get a pay-per-view every month. Back then, there'd be a pay-per-view every month, and that'd be a big deal. I'd go over to his house, we may order pizza or something.
Absolutely.
And then we're just watching these guys beat the hell out of each other. And that was still right around that same time. I was right around that 12, and they really pulled me into it. And then that just
It exploded.
it exploded at that point.
I mean, when I still remember when Scott Hall and Kevin Nash left WWF and nobody really knew where they were going. And then that following week, they showed up on Nitro. And everybody thought the world was coming to an end because the invasion was happening. Nobody knew why they were there.
yeah.
And then that storyline just progressed for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then I don't remember which pay-per-view it was, but where Hogan turned.
I feel like that was a Bash at the
I want to
Beach,
say it was
but
Bash at the
I'm
Beach
not
too,
positive. They all
but I don't know.
kind of
They
blend together.
They do. They blend. And Hogan, which we can start in on that part of the conversation, but Hogan was the childhood hero.
Oh, for sure.
Take your vitamins and drink your milk.
Yeah.
That was his tagline. He was the main star in the Rock and Wrestling cartoon, which, if you remember that, props to you. Because I went back and watched that recently with my son, and oh my God.
Not great.
Terrible.
What is this garbage?
Absolute garbage. But my kid loved it, which means I know I loved it.
Oh, you had to have.
Because I got my kid into wrestling. You see how crazy that is.
I mean, yeah.
Little tough Tony.
Little tough Tony is bringing the heat.
He is bringing the heat.
Not everybody caught that. We did a little thing with Tough Tony earlier. He laid out his top 10 wrestlers, and I will say, pretty good, pretty solid.
The kid knows his stuff.
The one thing I don't know how, if I'm even sure that that's your boy at this point, because Stone Cold in the top 10, man, come on.
Bro, he ain't ready for that. He ain't ready for beer guzzling, middle fingers in the air, the rebellion.
Get it?
The rebellion thing, which I'll go ahead and throw this out there. The drink of the day that I wanted for today was beer because I was going to toast. I was. And I wanted it on video.
No, we got
to be on audio.
We got carpet in here.
I know we do. I know.
Spilling beer everywhere.
It was going to be outside. I was going to do the thing. Throw the middle fingers in the air.
We should have created a little wrestling post and put the ropes on there. That way you could have climbed up
yes.
the second rope and just
absolutely.
slammed them.
I've got a trailer outside. We can make this work. We could have done it, but no. My love of wrestling has carried forth to my son, and I really like that because that's how I got into it. But Hogan was the man. He body slammed Andre the Giant, first person to ever do it. WrestleMania 3. We were too young to remember that.
It was a little before our time, but we've all seen the clips.
But I've seen the clip. I've seen Hulk Hogan and Mr. T versus Rowdy Piper and I want to say it was Harley Race, but I know that's not who it was. At WrestleMania 1. You know, that was a big event. Huge event. And like going back and looking at those matches, I'm like, wow, that's what I love about this. But Hulk Hogan, when he flipped to becoming the bad guy, the leader of the bad guys, the leader of the heels.
And this was huge.
Absolutely
because he's been around
monstrous.
since what, the 70s? I feel like Hogan was in the 70s, and he was the say your prayers and take your vitamins and drink your milk, and you can grow up to be the All-American. He's the All-American hero.
24-inch pythons.
Bam! Get it! And that's what we saw from a young age of this is the ultimate good guy. Hulk Hogan was that guy.
And then he flipped the script.
Turn heel.
He flipped it.
And wrestling.
And nobody saw it coming. That was one of the greatest works of wrestling, period, was when he flipped. And everybody's like, what the fuck just happened?
Because
I remember us talking
across
about
the country.
I remember us talking about that back in the day of how the NWO formed, and that was like our little group.
Oh yeah, it took over. It was no longer fuck, as a teenage kid, you're looking for something, some kind of rebellion, and you're like, hey, there's the biggest good guy we've ever seen in our lives, and he was like, I'm just gonna change it up.
Yes.
Fuck it, let's go.
And Nitro exploded. Absolutely exploded. WWE, good luck catching them.
Eazy-E was on it.
Boy. Bischoff?
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, Eric Bischoff, man, he led that.
Vince McMahon is the granddaddy of what we know as modern wrestling, but Eazy-E was
the disruptor.
He took it to the next level.
Absolutely.
My God.
And it's crazy to think about that, because like, you know, you have writers that help you write all this stuff, but like you have to have one person who's the brainchild and is like, will this work? Will this work? Let's try it. Let's see if it goes. And then the NWO just started bringing in members, people that you never thought would turn bad guy. When they turned Macho Man, who was one of the
Yeah.
oh yeah, snap into a Slim Jim, baby. But like he was another one that was part of the WWF back then, before they World Wildlife Foundation did their whole "I'm gonna sue you because people love panda bears" and all that kind of shit.
Like I'm gonna tell you
Whatever.
right now, more people knew the WWF as wrestling than they did
Absolutely.
as saving animals. But
Absolutely,
whatever.
but whatever, it doesn't matter. World Wrestling Entertainment, it is what it is. But they pulled him in. They pulled, God, I don't even, there were so many members.
Oh God, they pulled so many people in right off the bat. It just was at first it was the core group.
The three.
You had
The big three.
Paul, Nash, and Hogan.
Yep.
And
That's all you need.
that's really all you needed. I mean, that's a wrecking crew of guys right
Yes.
there. So from there, then it just started to branch out. That we started to pull in.
Well, then they got Flash,
I was
Buff
gonna
and
say
Flash.
Flash,
Yep.
and Buff.
Can't
Well,
forget
did
about
right
that.
now.
Can't forget about
I'm
them.
not gonna lie, I did go by Buff Blanco back
You
in
did.
the day. It
You
was
did.
my thing. I mean, it just worked. I don't know how you don't throw that in there.
No. Well, you had your tag team partner.
Yeah, I had Flash. Flash was my dude.
You had your tag team partner. you and good old Josh ran around everywhere, which that was what made it that much more awesome. Was we played those scenarios out in real life to a point.
We even had a Vincent.
We did have a Vincent. We didn't call him that, but we did have a Vincent.
Vincent, aka Chief, was always around and doing his thing.
Always instigating shit.
Little.
Bro, we haven't done that in so long. That felt good. I'm not gonna lie, that felt fucking good. Why are we juveniles?
I don't-
Why are we fucking juveniles?
I don't know why yelling Chief Little Penis felt good. That might be something we want to go over in therapy.
Yeah, no, that's totally therapy worthy. The reason why? Because we were 14, 15-year-old dipshit kids
I mean, we were.
that were having
jackasses.
NWO parties in the middle of a high school fucking hallway. Yeah, no, that's why.
What constitutes a picnic in high school? It doesn't matter. Assorted baked goods. It's morning
Pop.
time. A little soda.
Pop,
Drink down that pop. Let's go.
Pop, cookies, and Twinkies.
That's all you needed.
That's all we ever ate. And we all spread the wealth around.
Oh yeah, always
we
took
all brought
turns.
stuff.
Everybody brought something. It was a little rotation. Hey, this week I got it. Next week you got it.
And if you didn't have it that week, we'd beat you up later. But we let you in. We weren't exclusive, because shit, what did we get to, about 10 or 15 people around us?
God, we had a
At
bunch
least.
of little fist fuckers running around, joining the gang.
Oh,
It was
love
a
that
little,
man.
a little wild. A little wild back in the day. Who was there? I mean, we had
Me,
Max and me and you. And
Murphy, McMorris,
Jeff was there.
Jeff was there,
Good God. Did we have Larry?
Larry was
hanging
there.
around? Good.
Larry was there when he could be. God, there was a good 10 of us.
There's a group of
Rico
about
would come
10
down periodically and hang
dumb
out.
babies hanging
Dumb,
around,
yes.
drinking sugar in the morning,
Yes.
doing things they probably shouldn't have been doing. But you know what? They didn't catch us, so it don't count. And I'm not gonna tell you what happened.
No. That's
I'm gonna
that's
keep
a
that to
whole nother
myself.
story. Hey, statute of limitations are over. We're good. Doesn't matter.
Maybe.
Doesn't matter.
Maybe.
No, it is. It is. Doesn't matter. I know these things. It's fine. But getting back to the NWO, I think one of their best storylines, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, was the Hogan Sting storyline, culminating at the end at Starrcade in '97,
That was a big one.
where they had worked up that whole angle for, I feel like it took a year.
Oh my God! It felt
At least.
forever. And
I feel like it took a long, long time, because he didn't want to join the NWO, and then he got the white and black face paint like the Crow.
and you're like, oh, it's coming. It's
We
gotta be
all
coming.
thought it was. And then him coming down from the rafters, which that is a kid, which I don't know if you ever went to a WW or a WCW event down at Kemper Arena.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Did you ever see him come out of the rafters?
I did not.
I got to see it one time, and it was one of the sickest shit I've ever seen in my entire life. It was nuts.
Well, yeah,
Because
it's
I think
really
I
cool.
was there with Josh. I think me and Josh went, but it was insane. The theatrics that they were doing at that time in WCW, and WWE hadn't quite grasped that just yet, because that was right around the time where their big faction their big heel faction in WWE was the Nation of Domination.
Yeah.
Which wasn't a bad
It was okay,
faction.
but it wasn't great.
No.
It wasn't NWO.
No.
And NWO, they were rock star bad guys coming
Yes.
out in all black, leather. I mean, they were the true badasses in wrestling at the time.
How many people can you say when they came out, and this is a shout out to Scott Hall, rest in peace, my man, that could come in and take over the entire arena with a 3.5 minute
Dude,
survey?
he had him eating out of the palm of his head. Hey, yo, that's my dude right there.
It's time to take a survey. How many of you came here to see WCW? And nobody would say
Just
anything.
working the crowd,
Yeah.
just like, give me something.
Yes. And then, how many of you came here to see the NWO?
And then the roof would blow off.
The arena blows up. Absolutely blows up. Chalk another one up for the bad guys.
Every week. Every week, that's how it started.
And it didn't matter where he was at. He was such an over heel. And the NWO they were almost the faces. They were almost the faces. That's how great of a bad guy faction that was.
And it was perfect because
Absolutely.
he had been a bad guy forever. Razor
He was
Ramon
known as the bad guy.
was the
Yes.
bad guy. Like,
Yes.
he's the bad guy.
I mean, one of his greatest shticks, flicking which I still do that to
Oh
this
God,
day.
yes.
And I shouldn't do it, and I try not to. But anytime I have a toothpick and I'm done with it,
Someone's getting in the face.
somebody's getting it somewhere. And then
You gotta
finger,
come back
yeah,
with a
little-
woo, yeah, buddy. Because that's what it was.
Yes.
I mean, the dude was bigger than life.
they all were. Nash, who had came from the WWE as Diesel, who was a part of the clique over there with Shawn Michaels and I don't remember who all was a part of that.
Six.
One,
the
two,
1,
three
2, 3
kid.
kid.
Which all those guys were best friends, but nobody knew it because everything was so K-Fab back in the day, where you didn't really know.
We didn't have
Who
good
was
internet
who?
back then.
No,
There was some
we didn't
bullshit
have
pages.
internet.
Like, I mean, we had internet, but
Sorry, we
not
had-
really.
You've got mail. We had fucking AOL back then, where you had to be like, did we get a new disc in the mail? I need 12 hours for it. And don't pretend like you don't know what I'm talking about, because every time we get those,
Got any more of that free
Yeah,
internet
you-
over there?
bro, did you get your AOL disc this time? Yeah, I got. Are you gonna use it?
Can I have
Can
it?
I have it if you're not? I remember those days. Shit, I remember accidentally racking up extra internet charges on my parents' computer or on their phone line because I accidentally clicked on a Leavenworth County number. And back then, that
It was long distance.
was long distance. Yes.
Yeah, that's no good.
And I had to work that off. My parents weren't mad because they like to use the internet for stuff, but they weren't mad. They were just like, can't go there. I'm like, all right, my bad.
This
But
is a mistake we can never make again.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't get in trouble, but I was like, I'll work it off. But sorry, that's whole
Whole
tangent. My
nother
bad.
thing.
My
No,
bad.
it's
Sorry.
fine. I mean, that's
No.
what it was. We're setting the stage
Yes,
back
for
at
old
that
school
time frame
times.
when this sport was. It's got to be the golden era, the golden age
For us,
of
absolutely.
wrestling.
Absolutely, because like we loved watching it. And what did we do on our downtime? We ran people through freaking ironing board tables, smashed people through tables, period. We wrestled all the damn time. Thankfully, nobody got seriously injured.
But speaking of which, I did think I had accidentally paralyzed my cousin by power bombing him onto a bed, and didn't quite get the rotation. Kind of landed in the neck area. Thank God it was on a mattress and box springs, so there was no permanent damage.
I mean, if we're gonna go there, and most people know this story, some people do, some people don't. I mean, there was a pay-per-view at your dad's house
True story.
that a coffee table got destroyed by your little brother. Sorry,
But
he didn't get destroyed.
Let's not say he destroyed
No,
it.
that's what I was about to say. I was about to correct myself. He got put through a coffee table. I got blamed for that for many years. Not my fault. Was never my fault. The part that was my fault was German suplexing one of our other friends almost through the the front room floor because I made the whole house shake.
I mean, that wasn't even just that was like a super suplex.
Yeah, it was.
He was up in the air.
I'm
feet
pretty
hit the
sure.
ceiling.
I'm pretty sure he left marks on the ceiling.
I
But
think we had footprints.
you
on
did.
the
I'm pretty sure you
ceiling.
had footprints on the ceiling for a while because I found it. I think we found it for sure the day that you guys moved.
Oh yes. A while later, we're like, wonder what that was.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But the NWO grew and grew and grew. The Sting storyline made it very, very entertaining. And I granted that's what they were supposed to do, but the is he going to be a good guy or is he going to be a bad guy? And then he ultimately becomes WCW savior, if you want to call it that, for a little while before the faction split and he joined the Wolfpack and all that kind of stuff, which I can tell you when it did that, I really lost a whole lot of interest in the NWO.
Yeah, they jumped the shark at that point, for sure.
What happened in the WWE that brought a lot of viewers back over there? Your boys started D-Generation X.
Yes. That was the answer to NWO.
That was, yes. And DX wasn't really heels. They were the tweeners.
I was like, they were more than just troublemakers.
Yes.
They were disruptors of the WWE.
But everybody loved Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
Everybody was up in the air about Triple H because of his prior times as a Hunter Hearst Helmsley and the Blue Bloods, and
yeah, it was a little weird.
Nobody really understood that whole storyline, but when he became, it did suck. I give all the credit in the world to the British Bulldog of trying to make things work with that. With that dude was a giant powerhouse. I mean,
who was the other guy? Not Triple H, the
Regal.
other English guy.
William Regal.
That's it.
It was him. It was
Yeah,
there was that
Regal.
there was that collective group there, and then they formed D-Generation X, and it just started out as Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and China, which, for anybody who ever saw China back in the day,
China.
we have ladies now in wrestling that dwarf her, but at that time, nobody had seen the eighth wonder of the world, because I think that's what they called her.
She was massive, dude.
That girl was huge.
Yeah, as a adolescent boy, I'm like, I don't know what I think
couldn't
about
fight her.
this. Like, I'm kind of scared she's gonna beat my ass.
She was very much she was a dude. If you, like, I know she wasn't a dude, and I'm not trying to say that.
She's a dude.
But she's a dude. Like, she had bigger muscles than half the roster did.
Oh, yeah. There was a lot. Hell, one of the members, the next member of DX became 6, the 1, 2, 3 kid.
Yep.
She was bigger than him by quite a bit.
Yeah.
It wasn't even close.
Right.
So, yeah, she was...
Well,
stuffy.
she was the only female that I know that's ever won the Intercontinental Championship.
You would know better than I would.
One of the most prestigious titles that used to be held in the WWE or WWF was the Intercontinental Championship. She won it.
That's a big deal.
I mean, I know all this shit's scripted, but...
Wait a minute, you're telling me it's not real?
It's not
this
real,
whole time, I thought these people were superheroes?
The wrestling is real. The outcomes are scripted.
There you go.
But that's the way it should be.
Oh, yeah.
Because it takes a lot to be a wrestler. You can't just be some Joe Schmo off the street, because, well, we'll jump around a
Let's
little bit
be
here.
fair. They're athletes.
They
Just put
are.
it out there. They are very talented athletes.
This is what I was going to say. You know, we looked at a Bleacher Report top 25, and we made the funny comment of, did you see Dusty Rhodes' picture on it? Where this man is strong as hell, taking nothing away from the American Dream. Amazing wrestler for back in the 70s and 80s, was a great mouth, could do anything. But if you look at the picture, he looks grossly overweight. But if you look at his definition, he has a weightlifter, not a bodybuilder, but a weightlifter's
like a strong
definition.
man.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like Mick Foley.
Oh,
Mick Foley.
One of the all-time greats.
One of the greatest at taking bumps ever.
Dude.
He looked like me. He looks like you.
Oh, God, yes. He did not have the body of a professional athlete
6'1",
at all.
Like 6 foot, 6'1", 300, easily.
Oh, God, dude. I wish I had stats on this.
He was an amazing performer at the things that he did. I mean, he sacrificed his body.
That Hell in a Cell match is probably let's be honest. Have you ever seen a match that was better than that?
No. And that match is probably one of the scariest matches as a kid I ever watched.
Oh, yeah.
And granted, I wasn't a kid, I was a teenager, but seeing that and seeing him, like, I literally thought he was dead.
I think we all thought he was dead.
I don't know of anybody who wasn't like, what in the heck?
Yeah,
what the fuck just happened?
And he was seriously messed up. But the worst part about that, I don't know if you've seen the, behind the scenes, I'm sure you have, but with his family there watching that.
Oh, I know.
His kids had to have thought he was fucking dead. They were bawling their eyes out.
Well, and I don't know which happened first. If the incident with The Rock, where The Rock hit him like he was in handcuffs, and The Rock just unloaded on him with a chair. And now, in the movie Beyond the Mat, which I don't know if you've ever seen that or not.
I haven't watched it.
That is a great behind-the-scenes movie about professional wrestling. But they show that whole incident. They have footage of that whole incident where The Rock hits him like 10 times. And when Mick Foley was Mankind, and just split his head completely like wide open, and gave him, I don't know, grade 3 plus concussion.
Oh, seriously?
At least, but Mankind, like Mick Foley was never mad at him because he told him to do it. The Rock felt bad about it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when those guys are in the ring with each other, not everything's scripted. You have general spots that the referees are like, hey, now's the time for this. Hey, now's the time for this. But a lot of those moves and a lot of the things that they're doing is on the fly. And a lot of people don't realize how much choreography there's not in it, where they're just like bouncing off ropes, and as they pass by, Lou Thesz press. That's all they hear, and then Stone Cold does it. Yeah, because that was one of his signature moves. Or Triple H, when Triple H would do his what is that, front body slam, I think is what
he does a lot of sidewalk slams.
Sidewalk slams, yeah. Or where he picks up and then slams forward. It's kind of like a modified power bomb. It's not as far. I can't remember what the actual name of that move is, but like those guys put themselves through hell.
Yeah.
And like watching last night and watch Royal Rumble last night. Just throw that out there. I never realized until we got such good TVs with like high definition stuff of how the ring ropes put lesions and like marks all over people's bodies. Because like when we first started watching wrestling, what do we have, 480 maybe?
Maybe. I mean, that's back in the day where you got this tube TV and you're just like kind of looking, I see the build of that guy, what color he's wearing. I know who that is because of that, not because I could see his face.
But now with like 4K and 8K and all this stuff, like you never realized what kind of damage these guys' bodies took until now when you see like the ring or the rope like indentions like on their backs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's
rope
like,
burns on their back from taking a little bounce just coming back.
Yeah,
it's just insane
crazy,
what these guys go through. Guys and ladies go through.
Yeah.
It's
it's
real.
Getting back to like DX coming in onto the scene and doing their thing. I think one of the funniest storylines is when DX actually went to a Nitro event with the Jeep with the gun mounted on the back and tried to get in, and everybody's just like, what the hell are you guys doing? And I don't know if that was real. I've never actually looked it up to see if they actually went, because I think they were like both in Dallas or like somewhere in Texas where arenas were close to each other and they like double booked them, I think, to kind of...
I'm sure one was at the old Astro Dome, and then the one was at the new
Alamo Dome or whatever it is down there.
And they were just...
But like, I don't know if it was real, but if it was, that's some ballsy stuff.
Well, yeah, it's hilarious.
And it's funny.
Well, it's funny, and it's probably real, because think about it. There are friendships, because people are going back and forth between these two companies constantly. So would it take nothing back then to call them up and be like, hey, we're going to be swinging by, FYI.
We're going to have somebody on the crowd.
Don't
have anybody come outside. We're going to be there. We're going to rattle the doors a little bit.
Just
to
so
give
you
guys
know,
a heads up.
here's what's happening. Here's what we're gonna do. Yeah, you mentioned that was a great, but that's not my favorite. My favorite sketch from wrestling would have had to been back to NWO and back to our good friend Kevin Nash, who did the spoof on the Four Horsemen, if you will.
All right, I had forgot about that because you can have my spot, the dog spot,
Dog spot, liver spot, your mama's spot, but my spot.
I completely forgot about that one because that was classic.
That was so good.
He
He had
just
the
pissed
balding and
yes.
the glasses, and
Yes.
it's just going on and
Because
on.
he was making fun of Arn Anderson.
Oh, yes, he was. And God bless him, Arn Anderson was a hell of a wrestler.
He was.
But he deserved that because that was funny.
He did. Well, and that type of interaction, do you remember when DX was going up against the Nation of Domination?
Mm-hmm.
And this was when The Rock was starting to kind of peak a little, or, starting to ramp up with his singles action and all that kind of stuff. And they did the Croc. Do you remember that one?
I vaguely remember
And
the Croc.
The Croc. Triple H was the Croc. Shawn Michaels, I believe, was spoofing D'Lo Brown. This was when Owen Hart was part of the Nation.
Oh, trade.
Yes. Well, because the Godfather was part of the Nation.
Yeah.
Because I think it was either X-Pac or somebody came in. It was when the Nugget happened. When he came in and was like, Owen Hart was like, I am not a nugget. Because they were making fun of him so bad, but those interactions between what are supposed to be bad guy, heels versus faces, that was just insane comedy at that time. And I think the era of people being that good on the mic has gone away.
Oh, yeah, we had the best. And the best, let's be real, the best on-mic personality was The Rock.
Absolutely.
I mean, nobody handles a mic. That's why he hypes up people for the Super Bowl now.
Yes.
If you're that good on a mic that you get booked to do the Super Bowl, you're unmatched. The man is unparalleled on a mic.
And I don't think WCW ever had anybody that could compare to him. And in WWF, or WWE at that time, you had three people that could run the mic. Not quite as good as The Rock.
Rock was number one, but they had a lot of good personalities.
But Triple H and Stone Cold.
Stone Cold was also the man.
Could light up a room with whatever they wanted to talk about.
Oh my God!
When
answer and call, the shout out to the audience was always fantastic.
What are we? 23, 24 years, and people still chant what? When somebody's talking and they pause and the whole crowd still goes, what? Because that was one of Stone Cold's things where he would just piss people out like, what? What?
Or cut you off.
Yeah.
What's your name? It doesn't matter what your name is.
Which
yes.
I can't remember what I was watching. I was watching something on social media, and I had completely forgotten about this. But did you know that Mick Foley actually got The Rock once with "It Doesn't Matter What You Think"? I had no idea this happened.
I would have liked to see that.
Well, it made The Rock break character. Because he actually started laughing because I don't think that he knew what he was going to say. Because he's like, well, Rock, how do you feel about this, and something like that. And he's like, well, The Rock, it doesn't matter what you feel. And everything stopped. And he goes, I got him. Mick's like, I got him. I finally got him. Somebody got The Rock. I got him. And he runs around the ring just cheering yeah, yeah. And the whole time he's doing The Rock is just like, God damn it, I walked right into that. I finally walked into that. And I don't know if it was planned. I hope it wasn't, that The Rock's reaction
I think he got it.
was genuine.
Oh yeah.
Because it was just like, oh, you son of a bitch.
Nobody uses my own life against
me.
me. Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Get out of here. God, that was so good. Yes, I remember all of that.
I miss that. Today's wrestling is good, don't get me wrong. And I know you don't watch a whole lot of today's wrestling.
Not anymore.
I do because my kid's into it, but it's not the same. It's just not the same to me as what it was back then. And yeah, I'm older, wiser. Well, not wiser, but I'm older. I feel like something's missing from today's wrestling. I don't think they can ever do again.
No, it was fresh. It was raw. It was honestly, it was a bit inappropriate.
Oh,
I mean, the
puppies?
things they said. And
Puppies
with cold, wet noses. They're my favorite.
Puppies would not last today. Like Jerry the King Lawler would have been canceled the first time he said that.
Well, yeah,
Absolutely.
There was, let's be fair, there was a lot of homophobia back in wrestling. There was a lot of sexism back then. There was a whole lot of. I mean, it was what we would now call toxic, but it was entertaining if you knew it was a joke.
Bra and panties matches?
Oh,
not
yes.
happening today.
Not now. No,
not happening. And,
God.
And I look back at that and I'm like, man, that was such great times, but it was very demeaning to some of those ladies back then.
Right.
It was. Because you had very talented people like Trish Stratus. Trish Stratus, very talented wrestler.
Oh, yeah.
Deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But nobody really talks about her or Beth Phoenix, who actually came back at the Rumble for a little bit. Stacy Keibler. Like, all those ladies back then were just basically sex symbols.
Oh,
That's
that goes
all
way
they were
back.
used
Yeah, way back in the day.
You know,
I mean, Miss Elizabeth was nothing but eye
Yes.
candy to come out with Macho Man.
Yes. Now, granted, they were married, so it was a little bit different, but you're right. They didn't have the 60s and 70s female wrestlers like the great... Well, you had Mae Young, then you had... What was the other lady's name?
Oh, you're going to put me on the spot.
I am. Because I want to call her the Great
Moolah. That was Moolah, right?
Moolah?
I think it was.
That sounds right.
I think.
That
I
sounds
apologize. We're not getting it right. I'm sorry. You do have talent, and we just don't have good.
Yeah, no. And it's not. Damn it, that makes me mad because I really wish I knew her. You know, I know Mae Young,
Everybody
but it was the
Mae
lady.
Young.
It was the lady that was with Mae Young back when they did their old ladies bit in.
And that was hilarious.
It was hilarious.
Oh man, that was so good. But yeah, I mean, back then they were all just treated as sex symbols.
Yeah.
I mean, Goldust had Marlena coming out with him.
Well, he also had Terry Runnels, which was that in WWE?
That was also the thing that makes it difficult. They're going back and forth between companies. You're like, Jesus, can we just merge already? Like, we were long overdue for a merger at that point.
And in what, 2002 or 2003, they did finally merge, and wrestling took a dive.
Yeah,
for a little while.
We were hoping for the merge and thinking it was going to be great. It just didn't.
And shit the bed.
Yeah,
Like
too many egos at that point.
Well, and I think they merged. I don't think they merged right because they tried to merge 3 companies at once because that's when ECW, which, God, I loved ECW. I wish I would have been turned on to ECW way before I was. And I know it hadn't been around that long when we found it as a collective group because that was another one of those pay-per-views that it wasn't $40 or $50 like it was for WWE.
Oh, no.
You get that for $20.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd all throw in on that.
And
ECW was amazing.
A show.
Tommy Dreamer, the Sandman, New Jack
jumping off balconies? Are you fucking kidding me? Good
He's grating
God.
people's faces.
Oh, the keyboard. The
Yes.
keyboard to the face. The man comes to the ring with a trash can full of props.
Tommy Dreamer, every time.
What? It was insane. Oh, I loved that. Now you're getting me really excited because those ECW that might have been one of the pay-per-views where that coffee table got broken because we were all amped up from watching people get suplexed off balconies and going through multiple tables.
Probably.
They were insane.
The Dudley Boys.
Oh,
One of the greatest tag
Boys.
teams ever. And not because they were flashy, but because they could work a crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And they put you through tables like nobody's business.
Get the table!
Devon! Look around. Get the tables! And the crowd would do it for them. That's how you know you're over, is when you do that so much that everybody loves you enough to go, Oh, I know what's coming.
Oh yeah,
Or they would start
we were ready
chanting.
for it.
Or they would start chanting, "Get the tables, get the tables."
Like, yes, sir.
Which-
it is on.
Which I guess I can say that WWE didn't completely lose out when they merged everybody, because we did get TLC matches, which is table, ladders, and chairs, with the Hardys, Edge and Christian, the Dudley Boys. I think those were the big three back then that really sacrificed themselves as if it was still ECW.
They were the
wrestling.
most hardcore
Yes.
in the big. We'll call the pro. I feel like ECW. They were clearly pros, but they were more like a minor league affiliate.
Yeah.
and
They were like
not
AAA.
the show.
Yeah. They were AAA, but there were a lot of factions that were like that were AAA, that like Ring of Honor and a couple other places like that. That you need those to build your wrestlers.
Of course, you've got to have a feeder system,
Right.
just like any other sport. You need that.
Well, yeah, because you're going on TV, you've become this huge business, and it's not like back in the day where it was basically like territories back in the day, back in the '60s and '70s.
Oh yeah, all
further
regional,
back,
definitely.
where that's where Jerry the King Lawler came out of Memphis. Great territory wrestling. Hulk Hogan, I think, came out of the southeast, down in Florida, where Vince and all those guys started that. Vince and all them started it up in
they were northeast, weren't
Connecticut,
they?
yeah, up there. But like you had those towns down from Florida and like all those other places, like Kansas City had Harley Race and Bulldog Bob Brown and Bob Geigel,
Legends.
absolute legends.
Yeah.
But a lot of those guys didn't make it to TV.
No.
You had
they
Harley
were local
Race.
TV only,
Right.
but you never got to the show.
Harley Race did, but that's because he was the king of Kansas City. He was the Hulk Hogan of Kansas City.
Oh yeah.
And if you talk to people who live in Kansas City who don't know Harley Race, but they talk about wrestling, I brush them off.
They're under the age of 25. Is what they are. They just haven't heard of the legend.
Maybe so.
Anybody over the age of 30 in Kansas City and they know wrestling in any form or capacity, they know who Harley Race
That's true.
was. I mean, he was a fucking man.
He wasn't fucking man. He was actually a security guard at my sister's wedding. Him and Bob Geigel.
That's badass.
When the Woodlands was still there.
Uh-huh.
I know I'm getting into where I kind of live at, but him and he actually knows my brother-in-law. Like, they were friends of the family. Like, there's a picture of my brother-in-law holding the heavyweight championship belt when he was like 5,
That's
which
awesome.
is nuts.
That's freaking
That's
awesome.
absolutely nuts.
That's so
But
cool.
I've gotten to meet some of those people, which it's crazy when you meet people like that and they're not necessarily in character. It's really nice.
It's like, I don't know how to
'Cause you
react
don't-
to you.
You don't until they kind of react to you, and you're like, oh,
All
he's
right.
kind of a normal person. Cool.
Still
I
a
can
little
deal with
scared.
this.
Still a little
Yeah,
hesitant.
yeah,
Still don't know if I would
absolutely.
jump in with both feet. Yeah, that's
Well, it's like, I know this isn't part of wrestling, but it's like when we met Christian Okoye.
Oh yeah.
Super nice guy. I felt bad for asking the man for a picture with him.
Oh,
I didn't want to.
I know it was bothering him. I felt so
bothered
bad.
me.
I'm like,
And I was like, hey man, do you mind? He's like, no, boys, come on, hey, come on in here. And he was a normal person.
yeah.
And I know he's not like a star out in the world. He's more of a, if you don't know who the Nigerian Nightmare is and you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan,
Google him.
You
that
are
man
not
is a fucking beast.
you don't, in my opinion, if you're a fan and you don't know history, you don't know who he is. You're not really a fan.
Right. If
You're
you're,
not
really
really
a
a
fan, you're going to dive in a little bit more
Yeah,
and find out what's going on in the
absolutely.
past.
But that's a whole other topic. Sorry to get on that.
oh
but
no,
it
we'll
was,
get on that some other day.
It was one of those things because I've always wanted to meet some of these wrestlers like out. I've met a few, not very many, because most of them are very private people, which I'm not mad at them for that. I'm actually glad that they are, because then you don't have to see them, like they don't have to be in character all the
It
time.
holds the veil up.
Yes.
I like that veil.
Yes.
Well, I mean, when you're talking about a scripted program, I need to not see behind the curtain. I don't need to see behind it. Just show me, give me the show, and I'm gonna leave the rest to imagination.
Well, and that's the way I think it should be. Like,
Of course.
I would have loved as a kid to meet The Undertaker. And I've heard stories about people meeting The Undertaker, about it, how he stayed in character the whole time as The Undertaker. And I'm like, I don't know that I really wanted to meet the actual Undertaker. Like, I wanted to meet Mark Calloway.
I never told you this. I've met The Undertaker.
Have you really?
Yes, I have.
Where?
It was at Kemper Arena after a show. And this was back in my early, because I was maybe 10 years old when I went to this show. And my dad was cool enough to take us down to the parking lot where all the wrestlers were going to come out.
Oh.
And he came out.
Shout out to Gijo for that.
Oh, man. Thanks, Gij. I got an autograph from him. He was super nice. Clearly, he wanted to get the fuck out. He was done, but he was super nice, said hi, signed the autograph. Wish I knew where the hell it was at.
Damn it, bro.
I had a house fire, okay?
I know you did.
I think that's why it's lost. But he was a super cool dude. Undertaker was not in character when I met him. So
well, that's good. Okay.
He was a super nice dude.
Because, like, I've heard people that are like, oh, yeah, which I don't believe this necessarily, but it might be true. Like, when they come to Kansas City, like, yeah, we met The Undertaker out at the bar, and he was drinking, and he's an asshole because he stayed in character, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, if he was at a bar and he's trying to have a beer, why'd you go bother him?
Exactly. The man's trying to decompress.
Like, leave him alone.
He physically hurts. Mentally, I'm sure he wasn't doing too great either. Leave him the fuck alone.
Well, like, back in the day, before everything, like, blew up, these guys are driving everywhere.
Oh, yeah, he was in a rental car.
Flying.
No, there's no tour bus. There was no chartered jet. It was a shitty, like, Saturn rental car with get on to the next place.
Three other sweaty, nasty dudes in there riding with you why? Because we have to split this.
We gotta save costs.
We gotta save money.
Because we're responsible for all this.
Right.
Yeah, that was bullshit. They got the raw end of the deal.
They did. That.
Okay, we haven't talked about it yet, and I'm a little surprised. I would be remiss if we didn't talk about some of my favorite matches of all time.
Oh, okay, yeah, absolutely. We can get in that.
And this is between two wrestlers who have yet to be named during this whole segment. I know I see the wheels turning in your head. You're like, I will tell you this: the chops from these matches were historic.
Are we going Eddie Guerrero?
Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit had some of the best weekly matches I've ever seen.
I will tell you, and this is throwing one other person in there because he kind of came around. Well, it's going to be two other people. But Eddie Guerrero versus Chris Benoit was a pay-per-view match every time they fought each other.
And they did it on prime time. They didn't make you pay for it. I got to watch it for free, and God bless them.
Yes.
Those were amazing matches.
I remember watching those, and Eddie Guerrero was never my favorite wrestler. And it's because I'm not Hispanic, and it has nothing to do with his talents. I was just not a fan of Eddie Guerrero. I respected every bit of, like, his frog splash. He has the most perfect frog splash I've ever seen in my entire life.
So good.
The rolling suplexes. Mm-hmm. 3 of them that he typically did? That was like one of his signatures.
Yeah, he did a little of that, but the frog splash was definitely...
The frog splash was like his most amazing move, and I don't think I really liked him until the him and China storyline, and I fell in love with him. I fell in love with Eddie Guerrero at that time, and I was like, holy shit, I've been missing this. Like, I watched his matches, and I watched him, and I'm like, that dude is a great technical wrestler. But until like the Dominic Mysterio, Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero storyline where Dominic might have been Eddie Guerrero's kid. We still don't know for sure. I don't know. Kind of looks like him. Maybe not. I don't know. We've only seen Eddie or Rey Mysterio without his mask on like once or twice.
We had Chavo. Chavo came into the mix.
Yes.
Which gave us one of the lines we use again to this day. Cheat for grandma.
Cheat for grandma.
Gotta cheat for grandma.
I probably say that at least 2 or 3 times a week.
You don't even think about it anymore. It's just common. You're like, oh, we gotta do it. Cheat for grandma.
You gotta cheat for grandma.
Cheat for grandma.
Grandma loves it when you cheat for her. And I always throw that back to grandma. Because I always throw that back. I'm like, grandma would love this. We gotta cheat for grandma. When we go play golf, cheat for grandma, bro. Let's just go do it.
We don't cheat in golf. I want to put that out there right now. I know this is off topic. We play scramble style. We play by scramble rules. There's no cheating. It's just playing within the rules.
You do know what my 14th club in my bag is, though, right?
Ooh, what is that?
It's a foot wedge.
We'll do a golf podcast someday.
That'll be great. We'll get some good stuff out on a golf course of that, but no. Along those lines of Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero, though.
God, you got me wanting to chop somebody so bad,
bro. This is how dumb we were in high school. We would have chest chopping competitions.
This is part of the picnics that we
This
referenced
was part of
earlier.
the
There would
picnics,
be
and, like, why? Why did we do that? Like I look at these guys today, and nobody chops like they did. Nobody stands there with their chest out, going, "Bring it."
And then at the end of the match, it looked like hamburger meat. They got raw hamburger across the chest from just smack.
Oh my god! And then you throw in Chris Jericho and Dean Malenko. Two more very, very technical wrestlers. And yes, we're going to talk about
Dean Malenko, the man of 1,000 holds.
And Chris Jericho, the man of 1,004 holds.
Yes! Do you know why?
Armbar.
Armbar. Armbar.
Drop toe hold.
Armbar. Half Nelson.
Armbar.
Full Nelson.
Armbar. One of the greatest WCW.
Y2J.
That was in WCW.
That was WCW.
Yes.
Yes.
One of the greatest. I don't even know what you want to call it. The greatest rivalries was Dean Malenko versus Chris Jericho for that fact of what are we gonna get tonight? Are we gonna which Jericho are we getting? And that dude still to this day top 5 wrestlers.
Oh,
in my opinion, my top 5. I love him on. He is as good as I won't say as good as The Rock, but he is top 5 mic performers all time.
Oh,
hands down.
He rocks the mic.
His stint with the List, I know it wasn't that long, and I know you may not know about the List, but was some of the dumbest, most funny shit I've ever heard in my entire life. Because he would just come out and people would, "You're on the list," and the crowd would eat that shit up. They would eat it up like nobody's business because it's so dumb. It's funny. It's so ridiculous. But that's what wrestling needs. Like AEW. I know we haven't talked about AEW, and I know you don't know a whole lot about AEW, but AEW started as the WWE guys that were kind of sent to the wayside for the new coming of like Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins and all those guys. And AEW was like, we got veterans. They still like to wrestle.
Wasn't it Cody Rhodes that started?
Cody Rhodes, yes. Okay. Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, and there was one other person that was part of their, it was like a three-tier thing with Tony Khan, who Tony Khan actually owns the Jacksonville Jaguars, also throws his money in 2 different directions.
Okay.
Shout out to the Chiefs for kicking Jacksonville's ass, but whatever. They started this on veteran stuff, and, you know, Cody Rhodes is another generational wrestler. With him, when he was in the WWE, he was Cody Rhodes, and then he became Stardust, kind of mirroring Goldust, which, by the way, Goldust. I don't care what anybody says. I loved watching that dude wrestle.
He can wrestle.
He was legit.
Him and Cody are legacies.
Absolutely.
And their dad, we already gave him props earlier. His kids were just as good as he was, if not better. They're both amazing wrestlers.
They both have great
Shout out to the Rhodes.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. But, you know, they started up AEW, and now AEW is kind of kicking the WWE's ass in certain markets and watch things because people still want to see Sting, who doesn't always wrestle. They still want to see Chris Jericho. But then they're bringing other guys up, like, appropriately, instead of trying to shove them down your face like what Vince used to do. Because I'm not going to lie. John Cena is a great wrestler. Yeah, you can't see him. But God, for the first probably 5 or 6 years that he was a wrestler when he was still doing his Thugonomics bullshit, I hated that guy.
It was pretty rough.
For the ruthless I think it was the ruthless aggression era, where him, Randy Orton, which Randy Orton's a great wrestler.
Oh yeah.
When him in Evolution, which that's a whole nother time, which we're gonna have to have a part 2 to this. By the way, I'm just telling you this now because we could go for probably another 2 or 3 hours. This is part one.
And we don't have 2 or 3 hours. You
No,
know
we
why?
don't.
Because it's Championship Sunday.
It is
we don't
Championship
have a lot
Sunday.
of
The
time.
AFC Championship is tonight. Got to get prepared for that. But John Cena sucked. This is one of the greatest things about the WWE Universe before we get out of here, because we're at time for this episode.
We're running up against it. It's fine.
But when you have a song, and this goes for Kurt Angle too, where the fans chant, John Cena sucks, John Cena sucks, and you eat that shit up, like, that's star power. Kurt Angle, you suck, you suck, you suck. And like Kurt Angle had been gone from the WWE for like, I don't know, 10 years. And he came back, I don't know if it was for the Rumble or what it was, but like his music hits. And this man walks out to like cheers, but people chanting, you suck. And
it
like,
never leaves you.
No, but like he had the biggest smile on his face because he's like, I still have it. And then he gets in the ring, does whatever he goes, and the crowd goes, you still got it. You know, you still got it. But like, that's like the childhood things that we deserve from entertainment things. Because how close can you get to a movie star? You can't get close to.
Nah.
How close can you get to a wrestler?
Yeah, you can
10,
get pretty
15 feet?
close. You can get real close.
When we went to that one live event, how close were we? That's the closest we've ever sat. What were we, 3 rows back?
Oh, we were real close.
4 rows back?
Yeah, we were real close. I really did. You literally feel like I could reach out and touch that guy. Because you kind of can.
Yeah. You can go up to the barrier and go, high five, man. But that's what wrestling is, and I think wrestling has is and still is a viable part of entertainment. And that's why I love it so much, because I couldn't do that stuff now. I wanted to be a wrestler at one point in time, and I looked into like some of those wrestling schools.
It was wrestling school.
But like when I seen what those guys had to go through of living out of their car and being away from their family 350 plus days out of the year.
And the substance abuse just so you can get out of bed.
Painkillers.
Dude.
Painkillers. The locker room lives off steroids and painkillers. And I don't care what anybody says. I know they don't use steroids now. They use other stuff to make themselves big. But they have to do that to get themselves through. Like, I hate to say that, but look at John Cena. John Cena, before he left, that dude was yoked.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely yoked. Goes and starts doing his TV career, not his TV career, but the movies and stuff like that. He comes back. He's like half the size that he was. Triple H. Triple H was a big sumbitch for a long time.
Motherfucker.
Has a few health problems. Come back and you're like, where'd that guy go?
I mean, what happened?
What happened to you? Hulk Hogan.
Are you starving?
Hulk Hogan. You know.
Oh, Hulk. Yeah, that's.
But I mean, that's a whole other story.
Yeah, that's a long time of steroids and drug abuse there. But it is what it is.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, that was fucking fun.
That was fucking fun. This is part 1. We will probably do a couple more episodes on some other things, but we're going to put a pin in this.
Gotta put a pin in this.
And we're going to come back
Wrestling's
for
too much
part
fun.
2. And maybe by then, my boy over here can get a little caught up on some things.
I'll try. There's so many things.
There is so many things. There's a lot of...
As soon as football season's over, I'll have a little more time.
Here's a little shout out. Peacock, bro. $10 a month. You're welcome. Sponsor us. Sponsor us. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe come through with a sponsorship.
Come through with a sponsorship for
Help
us.
out a little bit.
Little Peacock action.
Giving you action. Throw it back. Show the love.
$10. $10.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, to the next episode, sir.
Yes, sir. Fatties over 40 signing out.
Peace.